This is Family Electric Ghost. We're live on the air with Kalie Nitzsche for the first time. Welcome to the Family Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing today?
Thank you, Phantom, for having me. I'm doing well. It's Friday afternoon, so I can't complain.
We'll get a couple of things out of the way first. There's a QR code on the screen. That is for Podmatch. That's how we find our guest. If you're a podcaster or you're a guest that wants to be on a podcast, take your cell phone, scan that QR code, find out all about Podmatch. It's like a Tinder for podcast guest and host, how they can align themselves. So we'll get that out of the way. And we like to talk to people from around the world live, and we are live right now. And one of the things we ask every guest before we get to the heart of their story is what motivates you and why do you do what you do?
What motivates me is I've always been an extremely driven individual, and just the ability to help people with my technology honestly gets me up in the morning. I also am a single mom to a 7-year-old daughter, and having her see that women can be a CEO and a founder of a company and can also be a very dedicated, in-person mom, going to the basketball games, the field trips, but also juggling getting this company off the ground is really important to me from a just women can do it perspective.
I think that's awesome because I love to talk to creative people. I started the show talking to like singers, songwriters, artists, painters, film, actors, people in that creative space. But I wear a couple hats. I'm a software guy myself. I've been in software for over 30 years working with a startup. And so I find that, people who are entrepreneurs are just as creative as a writer, author, filmmaker. This is same energy. And
Yeah.
I just feel like I like giving a safe space for people to talk about their vision and their passion.
Well, thank you. Yes, I totally agree with you. It's just a little bit different part of the brain, but it certainly takes a small dose of healthy delusion to be an entrepreneur and go out on your own. I'd been in corporate America for pretty much my whole career, also in software, just like yourself. And I decided that I needed to be doing this full time, and I had something that people really could benefit from.
Yeah, so we have your website below, fuzzywatchdog.com. We also have the QR code now is actually for that. So people scan that with their phone, they can actually get into that URL immediately and check it out while we're talking. But
Awesome.
the permission structure for a creator or an entrepreneur is interesting to me because there's lots of people that have this thing where like, well, I can't do that. I can never be that. They look up to their idols. They never think they could be Edison. They could be Da Vinci. They could be, any creative. They just think they can't do it. What made you feel that you had the vision and the wherewithal to do it?
Well, first and foremost, the problem happened to me personally. So what I've created is called Fuzzy. And what's fuzzy needs a little bit more clarity. And what I'm bringing to the table is finally a way to garner online trust online. We live in a world where digital interactions and the reliance on everything digital is just part of our everyday lives, which is great. And it affords us a lot of conveniences and the ability for you and I to connect right now. But we've gotten to a space where technology in terms of AI and synthetic identities, deep fakes, et cetera, have greatly surpassed our human ability to just verify or make sure that we are in fact talking to the person that is claiming that they are who they are, right? And I had a really terrible encounter with just the opposite. I was duped and deceived. And I had mentioned that I've been in tech long enough to know, like, we should be doing a lot better here as a society, just in our ability to have human interactions and connections and feel safer and feel that, who I'm talking to is actually their authentic self. And how do I facilitate a quick, easy way to bring trust back online? Because trust is broken right now. It's fragmented. Nobody trusts the platforms. They haven't done anything to help anybody. And so I stepped up to do something about it. And yeah, that's why Fuzzy was invented.
I think it's really important because as a musician, I keep on hearing stories or bands on Spotify are getting impersonated.
Yeah, it's
People
really
are impersonating artists, like musicians, painters. People are doing deep fakes of art and putting them into galleries. people are doing deep fakes of like music, creating like, fake people.
Yep.
And the AI is getting so good that you really need a tool like what you're talking about, because it's terrible to not trust people. I think it because like if you're in the arts, you kind of have to have, there's a certain level of trust.
Sure.
When
Being a human, right? There's a certain level of trust.
Yeah, because go ahead.
we operate, and I think the majority of us are good, decent people. I truly do in my heart. It's the bad actors that have given all of humanity kind of this bad name. And it's like, how do we quickly weed them out so us good folks can stick together, us actual humans, not even AI bots, right? We're getting to a world where I don't even know if I'm the AI Kalie or if I'm the real Kalie, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really scary thing when you think about how do I protect my own online identity? Because just like to your point with the musicians and the artists, I mean, their entire livelihood is built around the art that they're creating and their ability to come up with beautiful songs and lyrics, et cetera. And somebody claiming that and stealing that and then pretending to be them is grotesquely invasive and terrible. And how do we stop some of that nonsense is really what Fuzzy is trying to do. And I'm excited to get it in the hands of everybody.
I'm glad you're doing that as a private, company, because like if I've worked in Japan, and in the EU, there's a lot more controls over privacy and AI in terms of like people owning their image or owning their information. And I think it's great that you're creating that privately, but I think there is room in our society to understand that we need like a digital bill of rights.
100%.
We need, because a lot of our structure, being a political science major, was all built on, 18th, 17th, 18th, 19th century concepts. That now that we have this digital stuff, you have all these disruptors. You're in tech, right? And people will say, well, the tool can just break through the law. It can break through HIPAA. It can break through privacy rules. It can break through copyright rules. It'll break through all these rules that we created based on the old world of, lawyers and law and judges and courts. You have tech that can just go right through it. And so without any way to do that, like you have to have like people like yourself come up with a tool, but the whole structure needs some foundation, needs some fixing.
I love, and I've never heard this before, and I'm giving all the credit to you, coining the digital bill of rights. And you're so right, because we had these rules put into place, in 1776 by Benjamin Franklin and all the founding fathers, which were amazing to keep society acting in good faith. But nobody ever has done the same for our online connections and interactions. And it's time that we step up and do that for people like you and I that don't want to be conned, that don't want to be deceived. I've kind of started saying that, safety is sexy and be hard to fake. Like, let's make it hard for people to fake us, because right now it's really easy. And it's very scalable for these AI scams to just go out and cast a wide net and catch as many people as they can. And if they don't, if they get only a subset of people, they just move on to the next group or targeted audience that they're looking for. And that's really scary when we start to think about, how do I protect myself? How do I protect my child? Right? I have to be a parent offline. And, that's super important. Her safety in a car and making sure she's buckling up and all the things that come with being a mom. Well, I need to be doing other things online that we just don't have the technology for up until today. So I can start to parent her and make sure, hey, her beautiful little face doesn't get put on some weird, creepy Instagram profile picture or website that I didn't authorize.
Well, like in Australia, they started to limit.
I know. Cheers to Australia.
The kids can't have a social media account because the companies would not. They work. The Australian government was trying to work with these companies and tell them to go. I'll let you self-regulate, right?
Totally.
And then they wouldn't do it right. So
the Australian government is like light years ahead of everybody else in the world. I'll give them tremendous kudos, because they came in and said there is just so much weirdness on the internet that we can't be exposing children to this stuff. And it's too easy to find their way into, the dark web, et cetera. And honestly, I very much applaud them, because I myself have been working with Washington, D.C. legislators and trying to educate and create some level of advocacy around what do we do from the United States perspective and how do we bring some of those rules here, because it's so important, not only from a tech perspective that we have these tools in place that help protect us and verify us, but also like what does it mean to actually commit a scam? Because right now there's no ramifications, and if you do it, it's very difficult to actually find you, catch you, and then it's so hard to prove.
And we don't really, when the cyber warfare division's been weakened, and so the concern I have, in terms of like that digital bill of rights, and also just like the understanding of like what you're opening yourself up to when you go on the net. And a lot of people just don't have the computer literacy. They might think they do because it's like, oh, I've been on the net, but they don't understand what you understand, like how vulnerable you actually are.
No, how vulnerable you are. And honestly, I'm learning things, and I've been in this space, inundated in it for 2 years. I learn things every day that literally would shock you and make it really, really disturbing to even want to be online. I think one of the craziest statistics that's out there right now, and I cannot believe more people aren't talking about this, and it's not just like plastered all over the TV news, is that Forbes and Google came out and said that in this year, 2026, online scams will account for $20 trillion in financial fraud. So we're looking at if in terms of like, if that was a GDPR, we would have the United States, China, and then fraud being number 3 for a giant problem nobody really is trying to tackle. And they're certainly not able to do it from like a peer-to-peer perspective. So it's a massive problem, and it's only getting worse.
It's a national security problem because a lot of this fraud is coming from our not theoretical, say it's coming from our political like rivals across the pond, right? There's a lot of our adversaries that have cyber divisions. They're using this to fund things to get around sanctions, to get around all kinds of things. And so it's very smart for us to look at it as a national security issue. It's like it's a microcosm and a macrocosm issue.
Sure.
From a political security, national security at the macrocosm, and at the microcosm of your own family security. Yep. And so we would hope the government would understand that. And then each family needs to understand that at the microcosm level. I was a sociology major, so that's like the individual level with you and your family, your kids. The macrocosm is like groups, which could be
like
nations,
the country. Sure,
countries,
of course.
Nations, I'll call it these big social groups that you combine together. But they, the microcosm and the macrocosm, they bleed into each other. What happens to the grandma whose niece, you get a fake request, like, oh, I'm stranded. I need some money right now. Send that money to me. And somebody fakes their voice. Somebody fakes their information. Grandma sends the money. But then, that's
you just described it. Elderly targeting for fraud is at an all-time high, and it's extremely sad because they're the generation that aren't as tech savvy as maybe a millennial or Gen Z. I truly believe if we were able to figure it out, and I think Fuzzy's going to do a majority of this, our ability to actually say like, hey, can you just quickly verify that you are send me your Fuzzy badge in real time, that the granddaughter, and then just to make sure that we're talking to our family, or that we're engaging in a transaction with said individual, or taking on an applicant for a job that's online. All of these different things, like there's just so many different ways people are conning and frauding the system. It's so interesting. My alma mater, Barry University down in Miami, Florida, they reached out to me and they're like, hey, we have a huge problem with financial aid fraud right now. So fraudsters are getting a hold of like the list of the people that graduated in the spring and then are fraudulently applying for grad school and getting FAFSA money, but they never actually come to the school.
Well, these scammers figure out all kinds of ways to take advantage of loopholes or open doors or back doors that they figured out to get into.
Exactly.
And it's like what's interesting to me is like this idea of the name, image, likeness tracker. Can you talk about like what that is?
Yeah, so there's really two parts here to what Fuzzy Technologies is, and like the online trust that I'm trying to bring back to the microcosm, if you will, right? And the first is the verification piece, but on top of that, Fuzzy Watchdog is the name, image, and likeness monitoring and protection. So essentially, how do I have an always on functionality that's basically kind of my watchdog, making sure that nobody's stealing or impersonating me, Kalie, stealing my picture, putting up a fake GoFundMe and then conning people saying like, hey, I'm the CEO of this company and we're raising money for, inner city Chicago children. That's where I live. And, all of these terrible things that people are stealing or using, unauthorized misuse of one's NIL, and actually saying, hey, we're letting you know that this is going on. Here's the source, the exact source to whether it's social media, website, etc. So you can go immediately and work with the platform. We'll help you to get it taken down as soon as possible.
Wow. So you help actually with the whole process of the takedown?
We do. And that's the most important part, because going into Meta's queue and doing a support ticket, right? You just kind of sit there and you hope that someone looks at it.
It's not very user friendly. They don't seem to have it set up.
No,
for the consumer protection at all. And this kind of goes back to my digital rights. Like if you have a service where you're regulated, you have to have a way for the customer to get immediate remediation, like lemon law.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
You have to have rules so people aren't selling you bad stuff, right? And on the net, in the virtual ether, it seems like our politicians just didn't understand it. Like,
and I don't think they do.
This is commerce now. Commerce is not just at the storefront. It's 100%. It's services, it's physical services, it's all these things. So the same rules and the same law enforcement needs to be applicable. And they just have let these guys kind of run with it with this idea that, we can't like put any rules on it because all these disruptors say we can't have rules. And I'm like, no, you need rules.
Right. No, actually rules regulate things and make it safer for everybody. It's really interesting to me, right? Because you just said it, like you can falsely market a product or a service and that company will be held accountable for doing that. They will be in trouble. There will be a lawsuit for false claims, etc. But anybody can falsely market themselves online, and there is really no ramifications for that at all. Whether you're on a dating app, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Uber. I mean, Uber's getting pummeled right now with all of their terrible violence and rape cases that are coming out. Wouldn't it be just really nice as somebody that wants to be just in a normal, safe ride to look and get my Uber and scroll down and I'm going with the fuzzy verified people. At least now that person knows who I am that's getting in their car, and I know who that person is that's driving. We've done some level of due diligence to put ourselves in a safer position.
Yeah, I mean, because I was an Uber for many years to help pay for my synthesizer because I'm a musician too. You can see my synth behind me. Sure. And now I wouldn't even be in it because there's a lot of fraud happening both ways.
So much fraud. Exactly, both ways.
Yeah, there's fraud with the trying to get the customer pickups are like fraudulent. Get people hacking into your account, and then you're getting, as the driver, you're not secure. So the customer's not secure, the driver's not secure. So it's like somebody needs to intervene.
Yeah, and it's like this very like unsafe environment, right, for everybody that's in the car, whether you're the driver or the passenger. I kind of had like this moment a couple of weeks ago. I was in the city with my kid and we were taking an Uber. It was one of her first Ubers. And, I saw the Uber, we're walking in, I'm getting her buckled in. And she looked at me and she said, do you know him, about the driver? And I said, well, no, and I'm hearing what I'm saying come out of my mouth because she knows don't go in the car with a stranger.
Yeah.
And she's kind of looking at me like, well, why are we doing this? And I said, well, and I couldn't come up with a good explanation as to like why there was nothing in place for me to make sure that the guy that picked us up in the blue Camry was in fact the person that matched the Uber
It's like the original
profile.
Taxi cabs. You had to have a license. You had the picture of the driver. And then there's like I said, disruptors like Uber and Lyft are like disruptors. They say, we don't need to, you can do something else. And so there was like a handshake. It was a handshake, and maybe 90% of the time it's okay. But what happens with the 10% where it's not? or the 20% where it's not. So
Yeah.
that's the model that we're living in, where it's like, okay, we can have 80-20, where 20% of the time you have a bad outcome. No, I don't
Yeah, it's
think
not
so.
the odds that I want to take.
And that's the problem with the net. It's like you're letting people like snake oil salesmen run the show.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that that's a good model for the future. Because
I completely agree with you. And with Fuzzy, like I'm trying to empower the actual user with information, data, knowledge that they wouldn't have necessarily had before, right? Because once me as an individual has knowledge is power, now I can make informed decisions for my own well-being. Because right now, you're right. We just kind of cross our fingers and hope that we fall into the 80% category, assuming that that statistic is right, right? And we're just like, I hope that we're not getting scammed, or he's going to take me to the right location, or whatever that looks like. But with Fuzzy, we're really trying to empower people with trust, which is a really different way of looking about being safe and being authentic and being genuine.
It's the whole idea with AI, because I'm in tech and AI is a tool. I think the
Mm-hmm.
problem with any tool is, I'll give an example when it comes to music. In hip hop, the sampler allowed people to just sample records. And they did it without getting clearance. Nobody thought about it, because the tool, the tech just lets you do it. So early hip hop people, they just sampled records and they didn't know they had to get a clearance. Then the lawyers came in, and now there's a whole digital rights management setup within music that if you don't clear the sample, you get taken down. You have to pay for any sample you use. To me, that example should be the same thing that we see on the net. When it comes to your image, when it comes to your personal information, you should have your digital rights laws to say you own that information. You got to get clearance. Just like if I own the copyright of that song, you got to clear it with me. If I don't give you
I have
clearance,
the
you can't do it.
autonomy.
Yeah,
Exactly. I have the autonomy over myself. And if I don't give you permission, if I don't give you access to use that, there should be repercussions and some sort of standard that says this
takedown
isn't
order.
exactly, like get this taken down. Because how else would one govern themselves if we can't even have the ability to govern ourselves? I mean, like that's really we're starting to move into like a world where we don't even know what's real anymore, and that becomes really scary as a human that just like wants to be a decent person in the world, right? And I want to do right by others, and I expect them to do that to me. So that's why Fuzzy is like kind of coming out there. You used the word handshake earlier, which I thought was so funny, because Fuzzy is kind of like the new secret handshake. It's like it's the new flex, right? I'm not afraid to say, hey, I'm Kalie Nitzsche. Here's my digital properties online, my LinkedIn, my TikTok, my Instagram. I'm the exact same person in real life. This is a badge of human, unique identification.
You should be the model for the standard. I mean,
yeah, the universal, like we were all doing it, right? We're all doing it for each other. And those that aren't doing it, Phantom, it's like, hold on here.
What are you doing?
What? Yeah, why not? It's like it makes you ask more questions.
But it's like, your personal, like people don't expect that their protected health information or their personal identifiable information or their financial information or their social security. They don't expect that everybody should know that.
Sure.
There are problems with some of the tech people in AI. They think they have a right to that. And I don't think they do. And they've been trying to push that, act like that they have it, and I don't think you do. And I think and they've been trying to con people to say we can't have progress without it, and that's a lie. They they have less money without it.
There you go. Over index on that, right? And I'm not even going to share who this platform I'm talking about is, but if you were to go, it is publicly available information. They are a massive public entity. They have to disclose all of their financials. And if you dig, and I'm talking like onto the 102nd page, because it's a massive document, you will see how much money they made on fraudulent advertising from fake profiles. It is documented.
Yeah, I know.
It's out there. They have to report it for the SEC. And it's like, they know they're making money.
It seems like it's part of their business model. I don't want to, but it just seems like you guys have gotten, and this is kind of like, you can't have the fox guarding the hen house. And the problem is in the ether, the fox is guarding the hen house.
I always say that they're checking their own homework, right? Remember, like in the second grade when we used to get to do that, and it's like, oh, I got number 3 right. I definitely got that right.
Yeah,
it's like,
you
no,
can't grade your own paperwork.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like it's like you're going to grade that algebra test.
Exactly.
You're going to grade the calculus test, and you're always going to get 100.
I'm an A+. Oh, it's so weird.
That's not going to work. And so I think people, this idea of a digital gut check, it makes a lot of sense to me because like in the music industry, it's a big problem where, creativity's kind of gone down compared to like, if you think about like what you see in popular music is a lot of cloned music. It's a lot of copy.
Yeah.
It's a copy of other things. The originality of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, even 80s seems to be lacking in the top 50. You look at the top 50 music and it's not as innovative as it was. You can go back, and why is that? Because people are using technology to just clone stuff.
Right.
And then they're thinking, because the algorithms say this gets a billion views. So you just repeat what the algorithm wants, and then what do you get? You only get a very narrow view of what you think is art. And I think that is very disruptive, to me, to the art process.
It is. I mean, so identity is one thing, content is another, right? I mean, how do we protect the things that we're putting out there? Or, I have my own podcast, Just Looking Out, where I talk to people that have been scammed or people that are, very interested in like preserving their name, image, and likeness. And I spoke with a really renowned photographer who I basically just asked her, how do you protect your photography images? She's paid a lot of money for her to take these pictures. And if somebody's just going around and stealing them, she doesn't really have any autonomy over that. And she said, it's a really big problem. I have no way of keeping up with the amount of fraud there is. And it was kind of just like, oh, that sucks. Like that's the way that you're making money. Yeah. And like, you should be able to protect that. You should be able to protect your identity. I'm actually, for Watchdog specifically, and I partnered with the Boris Agency. And for those that don't know, the Boris Agency is one of the largest sports agencies in the whole world. They rep over 400 Major League Baseball players. So we have a bunch of Major League Baseball players through Boris on our Fuzzy Watchdog pilot, where we're able to actually go in and say, hey, we're letting you know this fake GoFundMe just popped up, or hey, this we've had a lot of people like impersonating like their Instagrams and then like trying to, actually message with the fans. And then you get into ticket scams.
They start asking for money. Like, why would a famous person ask for money?
And it's sad, but a lot of people buy into it,
Yeah, they get tricked.
And so it's kind of like I've started with this like really VIP, high visibility group to help protect their NIL, and then in exchange to ask their fans here in a few months, like, hey, why don't you go Fuzzy verified, just so we can make sure collectively as a community, as a fan base, as a team, as an agency, as a sports league, we're doing something to mitigate some of these scams or fraud that's happening. Like, we're all acknowledging that this is going on. We want to be doing better, and we're doing something about it.
Are you creating like digital like watermarks? Like, I know for artists, especially like graphic artists, illustrative artists, painters, they don't like the idea of a watermark on their work because it kind of ruins the aesthetic.
Sure.
So is there a way to solve that problem for photographers and artists where it's not maybe visible but still is there?
So what we are doing and what we're looking at is the ability to watermark or embed a live, essentially, link, a live URL that takes you to your Fuzzy page. Now, I'm starting with identity first. Content would be on the roadmap for later. So from an identity perspective, what I want and foresee Fuzzy Verify to be able to do, and this is in our next iteration here, is to be able to make it portable so that you, Phantom, can go and look at my LinkedIn picture, and then I can have embedded a Fuzzy watermark that just says to you, hey, she's gone through this process. And then within my profile, there is a link to my live badge. So
Mhm.
you know that I've gone through this process. It doesn't give my address to you. It doesn't give my blood type to you. It doesn't give my financial status to you. It lets you know, like, hey, that is Kalie Nitzsche. She did, all her LinkedIn is tied to her offline
It's
self. This
real.
is
It's
a real
verified.
human,
Yeah, it's a real
right?
yeah.
It's a real verified person. And how do I put that in my Instagram picture? And I can now have it in my profile. How do I put it in my Facebook? So looking at it from identity perspective is definitely my first priority. But we have talked about how do we make this from a content perspective? Because if you're an influencer, your entire paycheck is basically around how
It's all
you
your content. It's your
exactly your
visual
content.
content, it's your audio
100%.
content,
Yeah.
and
And your engagement with your followers. And how do you protect that? Because right now they really can't. Watchdog can help their name, image, and likeness. But from a content perspective, that's a different kind of that's a different set of functionality that we would need to bring in. But I'm certainly trying to think about this from a 360-degree view because
yeah,
I want people to feel as, I guess, have as many tools as they possibly can in their arsenal to stay as safe as possible,
yeah.
whether it's for them.
Can the
Yeah.
pioneers, the hacking pioneers, and these
Yeah.
fraudsters, the
We need
next
like a Swiss
level,
Army knife,
the next level they're going to do is they're going to try to impersonate Joe Rogan. They're going to try to,
Oh, they have done that.
yeah, well, they've been, that's the level they're at. So that's
Yeah.
where they're going. And so we've already seen, like I mentioned, with the bands, there are
Yep.
bands that have seen their albums be put up, and it's not their album, and it got registered, and it actually was commission being paid out, and it wasn't them; it was a copy of them. And
Well,
the gates on some of these platforms are not good enough to validate what they should be validating.
right. It's like we need one first pass or like a dam to be put up, right? Because what you just described is a business claiming to be somebody else, right? So when I think about Fuzzy, there's so many instances outside of just direct consumers that this could help. Like think about small businesses, right? We have Angie's List that say, hey, this business is, credible or whatever, but I don't know who works at this business. We have these amazing people that set up fundraisers or nonprofits after a natural disaster. This is a true story. Think about the devastating floods that happened in southern Texas this past summer with those poor little girls in the summer camp.
They got swept away.
It was terrible. I think I read somewhere within 25 minutes of like this getting out, there were already fraudulent
Fraudsters.
trying to ask for money. And how do we protect like the actual Red Cross organizations that are real with some sort of digital watermark or stamp that says like this is the real one, these are the fake ones, right? So it spans outside of just one's own identity to businesses and foundations, charities. And how do we all work together in a way that's doing the secret handshake to say, hey, I've done this for you. Please do it for me, or else we're not going to engage, or I'm not going to move forward with this connection.
Yeah, we've got to get the platforms to actually have stronger gates in terms of not allowing fraudsters to be part of their business model.
But until people and businesses make enough noise that say almost, I'm not going to use this platform unless you do this for me, that they're going to continue operating in this manner. And that's why really, we have to have a third party come in and say, hey, I'll be the police here to actually like try to mitigate some of this. I gave the number $20 trillion, and I literally, I don't even know how many zeros that has. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
If Fuzzy can influence 0.5% of that, that's $100 billion. I mean, that's massive amounts of GDPR savings back to the consumer.
Oh yeah, well that needs to be shown to, the regulators, shown to the politicians and say, here's a business model. Here's nobody ever wants to do the government control because they always overreach this and that.
Yeah.
If you're able to show, here's a private business and I'm doing this, right? This is what needs to happen.
Yeah, right. I mean, okay, calling United States government, if you're hearing this, I would love funding. And I've tried that route, but I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's extremely frustrating how slowly they move. And I was spending so much time on the legislative part that I don't have enough bandwidth to be like leading the charge on online deception and also scaling
No,
this,
because
this
you got
technology
on the
company.
other side of it, there's a lot of people who are making money not having it regulated. And so the people who've got their ear are telling them, disruptor, no regulation, no boundaries. We got to let these amazing people just build these things.
Like, this is an invitation right now to Mark Zuckerberg. I would love to have a conversation with you. You have been to Washington, D.C. more than I'm sure you would like. Let's talk, right? I mean, let's have a conversation and see if we can't collaborate, because it isn't going to, nothing will change from a platform perspective or a walled garden perspective until they acknowledge like this is not okay anymore.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm coming out. I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you some technology here to help you, right?
I don't think enough people even know about the level of fraud that's happening. And this is great that we're having this podcast, because I mean, you had a personal experience that caused you to like want to create this capability.
I did, yes.
So you did the work and say, hey, and that's kind of what artists do. Like if a songwriter has a melancholy moment, that becomes a song. You like, we tend to creative people take things that happen to us and we turn it into action. And so that you've been able to kind of synthesize, hey, this is a solution. I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to actually provide this to the world and allow people to, to stop the deep fakes. Because I think like that's another thing I want to get into is just these AI deep fakes and how much of a threat they are to your personal security and sense safety.
They're this is a wild threat. And these long language models, I mean, everybody's becoming more well-versed at ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever one you choose to use, right? You don't have to be a coder anymore to make an AI deep fake. You can literally just tell an LLM, this is what I want to do. And in layman's terms, right? I don't even need to know code.
Pseudocode. It's just prompt engineering. As you do it, you get better at it. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. The people who are doing this are not coders.
No,
they're very good at prompt engineering.
Correct.
And prompt engineering isn't coding, but it's actually learning how to be more efficient with your language to get these AI models. Because I'm certified on some of these, but to get them to do what you want,
sure,
you have to learn how they actually understand language. And once you understand how they understand language, then you say, oh, if I say this and I do that, then it will do this.
Right. So this directional guidance of this word is going to give me a better input or a better output with what they're giving me. I mean, I am a huge advocate for AI. I think it's incredible what you can do from just my company's efficiency perspective and how it's helping me organize. It's a tool. It's awesome.
Any tool could be used. I mean, like Oppenheimer found out.
Yes, that is such a good example.
Like you can get so lost in the weeds of building the bomb.
Yes.
Then you forget what the bomb does.
that you forget what a tragic result can actually occur. And, Sam Altman's come out and basically said they didn't think about that while they were building this, right?
Well, it's the Oppenheimer problem, because the problem is with the geniuses, the engineers, they build something and they don't think about like what are all the use cases, right?
Right.
And they only think about the great use cases.
Right.
But what about the nefarious use cases? What if somebody uses this to like shut a power grid down? What if they use it to like mess up the water system? What if they don't think about like if you provide a tool with so much power, don't you think you should have some kind of controls over it? Because they said I saw some article that this one language model, this one set actually started building its own language so that humans wouldn't understand it.
Yeah. Okay. So I saw the same thing. And that these LLMs were like, let's stop speaking in human speak. So they started coding to each other. And I've also read that one of the large language models has its own religion. Like, it's like, what do we believe in? And it started breaking it down. Like, that is next level. I mean, I don't know.
That's when you start to have to think about like philosophy, morality, and some of the things that you don't learn in STEM. Like I was a liberal arts major, right? So if you just all STEM and you don't learn history and you don't learn ethics, you never take any religion classes, you don't take any philosophy classes, you don't teach any art history, you miss part of the pillars of being a human being It's not just the step. It's the soul, it's the spirit, it's your ethics. And when you don't understand that and you build systems that don't have any ethics, there's a problem.
It's a huge problem. And that's why it's so paramount that today we all understand that, okay, these systems are out there. They have done tremendous good. They're helping healthcare become more efficient, space, et cetera, et cetera. But on the flip side, it's equally doing the negative, nefarious acts that are really, really scary. When we think about utilities, you brought it up, like the power grid or things like that, where now we can't control an entire area because technology has destroyed it. I could get down a rabbit hole.
There's a whole rabbit hole where people can use the tech to blow through somebody's security system.
Totally.
And to turn off their cell phones, to actually, turn off your cell phone, turn off your security phone, turn off your camera, or open your lock, your automated lock, open your door and get in your house.
Get your banking apps. I mean, all it takes is it's scary. So, and we don't have enough fuzzy tools. We don't have enough of this on the good side, like a white knight to say, hey, we understand that these things are possible. They're starting to happen and at increasingly alarming rates and complexities. So I'm here. I'm coming out and to help everybody. I really am. It happened to me. It was super terrible. It was a bad experience. And I realized, and especially after I did some research, to say, I cannot believe this level of technology is not out there today. It's so obvious, right?
It just seems like the Wild West.
It's the Wild West. And what I built seems just so necessary that I was shocked when I went and applied for a patent. And they were like, okay, yeah, patent pending, ADD, automated deception discovery. I mean, Kalie Nitzsche, you brought it up earlier, people that don't believe that they can do anything. Phantom, I will tell you now, if you told me 3 years ago that my name would be on a United States patent, I would have pretty much giggled. But people are capable of doing anything they put their mind to. And if you're super dedicated and passionate and hardworking on something and you really believe in it wholeheartedly, you are capable of doing anything.
Well, I think that's super important because, you took it all the way through. And people need to understand that in today's world, like getting a patent, getting a copyright, registering your art, like because of the way the world is now. Artists that never thought about registering or copywriting or patenting their work or somehow protecting it, being in a rights organization, being in like an artist union and making sure that your screenplay's, protected, that your writing's protected, that what you create is protected. And now we've got to go down to the people. Well, I'm not an artist. Well, you still want to protect your personal health information, your own privacy information, your financial information, your family information. If you don't want your people in the world to have your family photo log, photo album, then you have to protect it.
Yeah, 100%. We all lock our doors at night. Why aren't we locking our online personas and making sure nobody's getting a hold of that? We do all these things offline that are in our best interest to stay safe. But you said it right. When it comes to online, it is the Wild West. People are just going bananas on fraud, scams, AI deepfakes, synthetic identities. And it's only getting worse. We're not going in a good direction here, folks.
No, it's just going to get worse. I mean,
we're going in a really bad direction.
They can generate the virtual you of anybody and then have them say things they never said.
Exactly. And that is incredibly damaging to my personal brand reputation and integrity offline. So whether I said it or not, if I had somebody create an AI deepfake of me, maybe they created an AI deepfake of this podcast and it's completely separate of them saying something about me that I don't believe in, that I don't, that I'm not building. That is massively damaging to my real
your brand,
to my brand. And my brand is myself. We're talking about our identity here.
It's your reputation. It's like your digital reputation.
It's my integrity. It's everything.
And people don't protect it because they don't need to know that they need to protect it.
Correct. And I'm here to say we all need to be protecting it. I can, Fuzzy is just the first step, but we have to be smart. We have to have to start understanding that this is a problem, right? That these things are going on. You've said it a couple of times and you're so right. Not enough people understand the severity or the gravity of online deception and how bad it's getting and how bad it's getting.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
the
anybody see what
acceleration.
happens to like with cyberbullying for
Oh my
young
gosh.
kids? You know, it causes like suicide, it causes all kinds of really bad outcomes, and we're not protecting our kids. Right?
Sextortion is up
Yeah, I mean,
70 to 100%.
And that bullying, it goes from the cyberbullying to a high school kid to a person at the workplace,
Right.
or sort of person at, you know, in a college, or a person just out there on the net, and you've suddenly created a business, or you're starting to be an influencer, and somebody decides they don't like you, and then they decide to like take you out. You know,
yeah,
virtual
they ruin your
takedown.
brand. Yeah, they ruin your entire brand livelihood. And once that's ruined, that's an incredibly difficult feat to get, to get that cleaned up. And that's why Watchdog's so important. It's like, if there is somebody impersonating you or misusing your NIL and you don't know about it, you're just operating as, heads down in an offline world while this is all happening. But I'm actually bringing to your attention and bringing forth the data that you didn't have before to say, hey, now you can use this, go do something with it and do it quickly, right? Before the damage occurs.
That dark web that's out there, is that not just in that space, but some of that stuff in the dark web is getting into the regular web.
And it's not even just dark web that has impersonation. I mean, we're talking about everyday social media, right?
Regular platforms. Yeah,
regular platforms that we're all on, and that's how we meet each other. The deception that happened to me came from a dating app. I'm a single mom, and I got divorced. I wanted to meet somebody. A few years later, I got on the dating apps. Well, I'm also in my late 30s, where dating apps wasn't a thing in my 20s, and I was thrust into this world that's like wildly bizarre with no rules, right? And I have good intentions, and I want to believe most people do, but I didn't realize the level of fraud that was running rampant
on those apps. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was just insane. And I just thought to myself, well, why doesn't Bumble or Hinge or Raya care that this is going on? Well, that kind of goes against their entire business model, because the guy that did this to me, he had 7 profiles. So
they're not checking to make sure people are creating these duplicate files.
Well, why would they do that? He's paying over $100 a month. They don't.
Well, because he's making money, because he's actually running a scam. You have a scammer. So a scammer can be very profitable to these platforms, and say they have until somebody creates a regulation to say you can't do that, right?
Exactly.
And so there's like a lot of times you said there's no, that the politicians might not do it because they don't see a problem, or the people who run the business are also giving them money through a PAC or something. So they're not going to do anything about it. So you have to protect yourself, because it's the Wild West. And not that you want to go around, having the OK Corral fights all the time, but you got to protect yourself.
Right. And that's why the level of community, Phantom, is so important here, right? Because so I'm really trying to create a cool brand here. So Fuzzy is not the intent is not to be like the Norton antivirus of fraud, right? Like, and we're coming in here like, no, we're police. That is not it. Like, I'm wearing the sweatshirt right now. Like, we have dope merchandise. We have really cool branding. This is a green flag if you're a decent human, right? This is cool. This is something people want to be a part of. It's almost like it's a status to say that you're in the Fuzzy community. And if you're not, that's going to raise a lot of questions moving forward, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to put that, make a stand and say, I want a certain level of control over my interactions.
Right. I require this, and you can ask the same for me.
Boundaries.
A boundary that feels very healthy, right? In a way that feels not creepy. It just feels like, hey, this is what we should be doing. I'm doing it for you, and I'm asking you to do it for me. And if you don't have access to me. You don't have permission to engage.
You set the boundary. No one has a right to you if you don't want them to.
Correct. No one has a right to steal my face and claim that they're me. There's only one me out there.
Yep. So I think, this is a great conversation. I wish we had more time to talk.
I know, I do too. I just saw the time. I'm sorry. You did tell me, and I went over. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But I have a QR code up there for fuzzywatchdog.com. Again, you can take your phone, scan that. That way you'll be able to go right to your website. People go to your website, they can sign up for Fuzzy, your technology for online safety advocacy. And I really thank you. And if you have more capabilities in the future, we have people come back on the show and we can have a wider interview about other capabilities if you want.
Awesome. I would love that. And I'll just close with like, I have my own podcast, like I mentioned, Just Looking Out. And with that comes, a YouTube, and you can check it out. And you can also follow me on Instagram at kalienitzsche.com. And I post a lot of, awareness advocacy kind of content on there too. But it was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that we got the memo to wear the black sweatshirts.
Yeah, well, that's my own brand too.
I know, I like it. I want one. I was like, dude, that's cool.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.